Pull on. Oh, good. Good. Diane's here. All righty. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's INE Network broadcast. My name is Dr. Lou Jensen, and this is the weekly gathering. We've been a network since 1983. We're a creative sort, trying to turn our hobbies on into a business, and we've been about 30,000 members worldwide and been at it a long time. We've been doing live internet webinars for the last 10 years straight, every Wednesday night. We get together, and this session is to discuss the business aspects, the real struggle. The right brain person loves doing this kind of work. We don't have to be asked twice to play that way. But to grind out what it takes to make it a successful business is the part that most find challenging. We don't understand it, we don't implement it long enough, and we just can't seem to change our circumstances. Every artist I know, artistic, creative person, says, well, I don't know how to market. And I'm going, well, marketing is personal branding, upscale marketing, pricing, all those issues are involved. And we don't make enough effort to learn that side of the business equation. Maybe it's time to turn your passion into a business and do it on a little bit better basis. We've got our green room going, all our people in on our film strip. Everyone here tonight, almost everyone, is a master in our program, and we have a 7-step program from going from an amateur up through the levels of a mastery of something. And in our circle, the mastery of the skill of the craft of the work is not the only issue. The other huge issue is doing well in the economy, in the marketplace. Because to me, getting paid well to play is the whole idea. It's starving artists drives me crazy. It's not the fault of the economy, it's the fault of the educational process that says, well, you can't do both. If you're going to be a really good artist, you've got to leave the business aspect out of it and let somebody else do that for you. And I says, good Lord, who's preaching that, do you think? The agent? The galleries? Yeah, that's how it really works. So as we take on tonight, I've got a presentation that we're going to make about the tools of the trade. The kinds of things that really require us to pay attention, because the tools aren't any different. They've remained the same for an awfully long time. The problem is most of us just don't ever get really accomplished at those tools. And so as we take on here tonight, let me get this going and we'll light up this segment and we'll see if we can't help you rethink a little bit about what's going on with your own effectiveness in the tools of the trade. I'm a tool nut. I'm the inventor of the power pen, Paragraphics and Paragraph power pen. Since 1983, we've been a company, and we've had the exact same 800 number now for 35 years, and that should say something about what we're really playing with here. And I hope you'll put that into the equation, because as we start into tonight, we're talking about tools that almost everyone is aware of. We just don't usually know how to use those tools really well. We say, oh yeah, I'm familiar with it. I had an experience yesterday. I was talking to my 2 grandsons, and they've just read Og Mandino's book. And Ben says, he says, oh yeah, Grandpa, I know all that. And it just all but stopped me in my tracks, because I'm going, there's no way he knows that yet. He knows the words, but that's all. And the really important thing is being able to accomplish what we don't think we can accomplish, and trying to pull our lives in a direction that a lot of times we think, well, I don't know if that's practical, or I don't know if I can even do it. Why do successful people have so much luck? It's the biggest question in the world, is why? Why are they so successful at this whole thing? And is it luck? When I finally started zeroing in on Success Mountain, this is how Timpanogos looks right now. This is the big mountain right behind us. And We have 7 huge mountains that surround Utah Valley. It's an incredibly spectacular place to live. And once I started tying to the 7 concepts of how to make things work and moving from the dream to the plan and the map to the gathering and preparing to the launch of your enterprise, and from then on the 3 steps to help you succeed. Once you begin to realize that this is the task, and it isn't easy. If it were easy, everybody in the world would do it. But because it's a challenge, there's an awful lot when you start making the challenging effort to climb mountains and lofty goals and efforts that you didn't think you perhaps ever could. And the secret of our getting things done is our uplifting circle and talent. Lance is often in on the show, not here tonight, but I wanted to kind of bring him up because you just need to realize that this thread of interest thing is just huge. Once you pick up the thread of interest and sustain that, then all of a sudden these things start to drop into place. And you begin to see the progress that Lance is making. And his reach gets a little further and a little further and a little further every year. So what I'm going to do is encourage you tonight to start keeping a journal on people that inspire you. And I don't care who they are. But if you put them in your journal and start saying why did they inspire you? Trying to unravel that and sort that out. This is Lance Turner, and Lance is just huge in our area. Lives up the street from us, and this is his studio out to the side of his house, and oh man, it was like walking into a temple. It was so fun to go there, and his backyard was just spectacular. It was so fun to be there with him. But you'd sit down and see the kind of things he did for the last almost 15 years of his life was pastels. And oh my good Lord, did he get good at it. And I have one of his absolutely incredible pastels hanging on the wall at this very moment. They ended up being about 10,000 a piece. And Lance Turner was the inventor of Smoky Bear and also Charlie Sinkis Tuna. When he was younger, he had an advertising agency, won Advertiser of the Year, no doubt. And this sentence right here is one of the most recognized sentences in all of advertising. Only you can prevent forest fires. And a lot of artists and creative people would be thrilled to death to do one of these iconic advertising mechanisms, but he had 2 of them, and they're both still here after 60 some odd more years. And Lance passed away a couple of years ago, and Tam and I went over to his home, or his studio. I got a special invitation to go when the family was there, and went in, and they'd all had their choice of everything they wanted, and none of the kids had picked up his drafting tools. And I got to purchase these, and I still have them sitting right here. And I just can't tell you what it means to me to have had such a long, great, wonderful relationship with an inspiration, and have that rub off a little bit. And what I'm trying to help you with tonight is this extra little way of getting more out of it. Because it's one thing to be inspired, but it's just, you got to lean into it more. There is an art to it, okay? And the second you can start having a bit more of a dream of where you're headed, it's very possible that the dream is as good as reality. I want to ask you how you get up every morning. If all happiness depends on a leisurely breakfast, if you're keeping a digital journal, and I've just hit that so hard this year, the digital journal helps you to spot these threads of interest and these trends. It does, because as you scan down through a digital journal, you'll see the kind of things that you've captured and what most hits your brain and your head and your heart, okay? We literally can set the tone of each day, but it must be a measurement alongside of the dream that you're after. Okay, one small positive thought in the morning can change your whole day. It's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives, but what we do consistently. I was going to say constantly. Huge concepts that everyone's aware of, but not everyone does much with it. We met Keith Hone. I met Keith early on in the company, and he was a woodworking teacher, a shop teacher in high school. And he came to me literally, said, I'd heard that you retired early from dentistry, playing with all this stuff. He says, can you help me? So we made a business plan, and we went after it one step at a time. And it kind of became his thing. Never meet a nicer person in your entire life. Keith Hone is without a doubt one of the extraordinary people in the world. And when he would talk to you in terms of one step at a time, I could tell you till it was blue in the face, but when Keith told you, it somehow came out differently, and people would say, oh, yeah, that's it. One step at a time, you can do anything. You've heard me talk about my my very famous nameplate, and on it he carved one step at a time. And this is how the deer moves its muscles as it's making each of its steps. Keith was a big advocate of developing their artistic skills and your artistic eye. Don't just stay with patterns forever. You get to a point where you literally can start to sculpt. You can literally start to draw. You move from one dimension to 2 dimensions and then eventually to 3. But he was also really big on uncovering what you like to do most and then do that from then on. Whatever it is, figure it out and then stick to it. Okay? So the early stage is a little frustrating and a little challenging because you got to kind of scan the rainbow of possibilities. From your as-is world over here to something better over here. There's a lot of opportunity out there. But getting good at something, mastery of something, is the secret. Now, we believe that there's a significant artist inside of everybody. And it seemed to just keep coming back and nudging you and nudging you and nudging you more and more. When we started our training classes in 1991, everyone here, and there's half of them who stayed with it and are still doing their mastery, and there's half that did not. Now that ought to tell you something. The inclination here is that if you can see a way to make the investment that you need to make, there's no way you can be stopped. But it's a significant, consistent effort. And it's not easy, but it sure as hell is worth it, okay? Who you become and what you do will dedicate, you got to dedicate yourself to that challenge. I don't care if it's writing a book, I don't care if it's playing the piano and doing music, I don't care if it's any creative effort. It requires that constant, consistent participation, or it just won't change. This was Keith's launching piece. This is the thing that really got a lot of attention. And he started carving these, we call them release designs and ideas. And this one hit like a ton of bricks. But when Keith would say, do you know how to find yourself? I've heard him say these things to our students. We've had thousands of people from all over the world come for courses at the famous Hone Studio. And he'll look over those glasses and ask you if you found yourself yet. It was pretty hard to give him a straight answer. You had to say exactly what it was. You couldn't get around it. And when you start to ask yourself these critical questions that just burn, they just won't leave you alone. Do you think you could actually learn to sculpt? You simply can't do this in a hurry-up fashion. And the whole world is moved to, if I can't do it in an hour and a half, I'm probably not going to make the effort. And I'm going, that just doesn't cut it. I don't know anything significant in the artistic world that's like that. I put up on Google Plus 5 years ago the Success Mountain, and I've stayed with it consistently ever since. And today it's over 6.5 million views now, or 1.6 million views, and 2,800 followers. And I'm fairly careful with what I do here, but it has gone on and continues to go on. And what will likely happen if I stay with it? Can you see what happens there? I'm going to ask every one of you. I read a really long article this morning about the significance of Google+. And they've done some studies recently to measure YouTube and Google+ as a combination, and Google as the search engine. And if you've got a representation on all three platforms, the odds are you'll grow and outgrow anything else that's on social media. And so I'm going to nudge that as well. And they said the number one thing in all of this is to hit the share button and reshare. If you're looking down through your stream and you see something that I put up, would you please hit the reshare and put it up in your own stream? I don't think most people understand even how it works, because it's great to +1 it and it's great to comment, but it's so much more powerful when you reshare it. It's the resharing of information that then goes down through your own stream and goes out to your own circle of like-minded relationships. This right here. So I'm going to ask each of you to continue to make that kind of effort. I've gotten somehow way ahead of my show here. Let me go back to here now and see. Okay, there we go. The interesting thing is Keith only has one huge fault. He's a Pepsi drinker, and we've discovered that if you're a Pepsi drinker, you have zero chance of becoming a significant artist, because 5 out of 4 Coke drinkers don't think you have a chance. We fought for, what, 35 years over what's better, Cokes or Pepsis. I got this for Keith once and brought it back to him, and he just, he went crazy over this. His dear friend, stand tall and proud, sink your roots deeply into the earth, reflect the light of your own true nature. Think long term, go out on a limb, remember your place among all living beings. Embrace with joy the changing seasons, for each yields its own abundance, and energy and birth of spring, the growth and contentment of summer, the wisdom to let go like the leaves in the fall, and rest and quiet renewal of the winter. Feel wind and the sun and delight in their presence. Look up at the moon that shines down upon you and the mystery of the stars at night. Seek nourishment from the good things in life, simple pleasures, earth, fresh air, light. Be content with your natural beauty, drink plenty of water, and let your limbs sway and dance in the breezes, and be flexible, and remember your roots, but enjoy the view. Now, all this is about trees and someone's passion for trees, and they put together a piece that's a creative piece, and they've sold it, and I'll bet it's still up on the market. This is good. This is really good, but there's no reason any one of you can't do the same thing. Every time we would talk to somebody on the phone, especially the first time, and we talk about the potential of the ultra-high speed and what it will do and what it's doing to change this power carving world so significantly, 99% of humanity don't think they can do it. And they just don't realize that Keith's not. And he is now an extraordinary individual, but he started out as ordinary as all the rest of us. But he is a relentless trier and doer. He just will not leave things alone. And what he likes, he goes after. He goes after aggressively and deeply. And for heaven's sakes, don't tell him you can't do it. We've watched him succeed time and time and time again, and it's often taken him years to pull it off. So when you can literally light up the last chapter of your living with your profitable hobby, why in the world wouldn't you move in that direction? Okay. When we started opening up trainings at Keith or at Doc and Dee's, these two were married and had a place in Vegas on the west side, and Keith started teaching down there. And look at all these masters that are in that circle that bothered to come and get some training. Okay. Watch for those precious threads of interest now. The things that appeal to you the most are the things that you're likely to continue to work with. Keith's love of trees and leaves and feathers just led his entire productive effort. And he would look at every possible way of expressing that fascination with leaves especially. And when you only do one or two of anything, you don't get, I mean, we've got boxes of leaves that Keith has carved. Literally boxes. He worked on this same pattern for years. He keeps tweaking it. He keeps seeing something I could do a little different and make this a little different. And that's what ends up, people just go crazy when they come and see his patterns and designs. You sit down and spend a little time with Keith Holland and your life changes because he puts more into it than you have. Never met a leaf he didn't like. And this is a pre-cut pattern that we can help you begin to learn to do two-stage dimensional carving. But he never met a feather he didn't like either. See, this release look is just nifty. You learn how to do part of the pattern and carve it out of a complete block of wood. Boy, people know this is a wood carving. There's no question. And I would invite him into every one of my classes and have him come in and teach a segment. And then I started doing it with his son Craig. And the more you do, the better you get. And you start to realize the number one thing in life to share is what you've learned how to do. Develop the mastery of something and then package that and start teaching others. Start influencing others in that individual effort. Now, all of you that have heard this so many times, you're going to scream, but I got to read it again because it's my favorite page in my entire book, Opportunity Intersection. It's done by Roger Merrill's movie producer. And he said, early in my career, I came across the words of John Muir, the father of our national parks. I love nature, but my vision of the wilderness was nowhere near the ecstatic level of his. So I walked in his footsteps for a year and a half, and it changed my life and soul forever. The first thing I discovered that it was my eyes that were clouded and that nature and life really were just as beautiful as Muir had described, if I was open enough to see it. Is that not true for all of us? Have we seen all there is? Do we understand all there is? Or is there still so much more for us to see and understand? The second thing I discovered, however, was Muir. Here was a man who walked into nature, saw its beauty, and let it fill him up. He overflowed, and it came out in everything that he did, in the way that he hiked the mountains, in his political activism, and his writing, and his business. It came out of his entire life. Muir was a man who made his life his art, and that was a staggering concept for me. Making my life my art became one of the cornerstones of my creative vision. I could stop right here. I don't see any other purpose to the whole scheme of life. When Joe started playing with us and he carved this panel, this is an 8-foot piece of, well, maybe not that wide, it's tailgate wide of walnut. And he put that stagecoach on there, and then he went and had it cast. And he got $10,000 for the carving for a fireplace mantle of a friend of ours, and then he's done 4 or 5 more pieces in bronze. That one carving made him 30 grand. One happy camper. Keith started out with cabinet doors because that's what the family did. They made cabinets for years and years, and all he did is start doing the relief work. But when you can take something so simple as a finished wood surface and power carve with this high speed, you get absolutely finished margins with every project you take on. And that's a powerful advantage when you don't have to strip and stain and redo the whole surface. You just carve on it what you want to carve on it. And if you'll do that and begin to literally aim the rest of your life, try and ask yourself the question, what am I going to do with the rest of my days? And find something that really you can target and begin to go after. And then one step at a time, go to work on this personal improvement category so that you're constantly, consistently, and persistently determined to make each of these 7 steps actually work. Come a long way since these early days. It's hard to even look at those pictures and see how far back we actually got started. You should put this on your bathroom mirror and just tell yourself that even though there's challenges in front of you, that is the way to go. Go right smack at whatever's the most significant problem that you've got. Because if you can learn to do this is 2-dimensional sculpture, and I guarantee you get this far, then 3D is just around the corner. A little bit more full sculpture. This is Keith invented the ivory inlay process. This is a synthetic ivory, but it is just so beautiful. And it ends up, you can drop it in a finished wood surface, so you can take any graphic image and learn how to inlay it into ivory. And this is drop relief cut here, or drop relief here and semi-relief here, excuse me, just backwards. And then this is full relief, raised relief here. So a lot of people look at his little sign he had stuck up there in the studio and not even realize what they were even looking at. But to take something so significant and push his skills until it looked, I mean, I watched him work on this for a long time. It's just absolutely perfect. Then we started going on the road and taking our courses all over the country. We've been in every state twice. We started doing 1 step at a time courses in the home studio. This is Keith here.
Lou?
Yeah.
You have lost.
Yeah.
You've lost your thing. It's just got your picture. You've lost all the.
Okay.
I was seeing it all.
As was I.
You think it's okay? Everything's okay?
Put your presentation back up again.
There, you got it.
And now it's black. Now we see it.
Okay, this is Joe Tate. This was Sam Walton's partner. He came out in Knoxville, Tennessee, on a week-long course with me, and there's Nick, right? Nick was in that class with Joe. And when you realize what the difference in making individual life is up to you. What are you going to do with this uniqueness that is just yours? I saw this week and I just couldn't resist. I keep calm, hell. I want to go out and kill something. You have to learn to trust your own timing. And oh gosh, this is a huge issue. We all go through those times when it just, everything feels like it's just upside down or it just won't work, and coming back and settling on what you most want and which direction you kind of want to take the remaining precious years of your life. That's the journey. And staying with it is just huge, okay? I saw this slide yesterday and I just, oh Lord, it hit me. Because you guys all know me pretty well. I talk too much and I'm always got an answer and I always want to throw something at it. And I'm usually trying to talk to myself, but I thought, you know what? There is something here that I've missed. I am really going to back up and look at this again. And when those thoughts come along and these bullets of inspiration that hit you, you all know that lighthouses are a big deal in my life, and I love them. I've gone everywhere to go see lighthouses, and yet a lighthouse is put up at a point of danger here, but it's a landmark. It's a way of guiding yourself to where you do want to go. So in a way, the problems, it's exactly like Edison when he said problems are always opportunities. I just go, you know what? If you'll go right at the problems that are in front of you, I guarantee you're going to find more success than you ever thought possible. This showed up today, and I went, oh my good Lord, look at that carving. Ah, that is just staggering. And who would do it on such a two-dimensional relief basis and have it turn out so unbelievably good? And when you start seeing stuff like this and then you ignore it, it hits you hard, but you just see it and then go on. You've not pulled it into your life at all. Wouldn't it be fun to just take this portion right here and give it a shot, see what you could do with it? Might surprise yourself at what you've bumped into. And then yesterday, Ann put up on her post, the most dangerous risk of all, the risk of spending your life not doing what you want on the bet that you can buy yourself the freedom to do it later. Ah, I sat and I looked at that, and I looked at that, and I looked at that, and I'm going, you know what? I don't know how you say it anymore direct and on an impact basis of saying, what the hell is your life for? What have you invested your life doing? And we're also hell-bent on this security factor that we don't ever, well, the risk is just not, we just won't take the risk. I've preached for 40 years the significance of the number 7. And that the ideas that come to you to help direct your life come in a set of 7. Little things will hit you to begin with, and then something else will hit you again, and then something else again, and this showed up, and I went, oh, look, there's 7. The Native American culture has quite a thing with 7 of anything. So 7 geese flying is a sign of good fortune. 7 big rocks in a pasture is a sign of good fortune. Every time you see a sequence of 7, stop for a second and think it through. Try and absorb from all eternity what that really means, okay? When I let go of what I am, I became what I might be. What a profound quote. This has got to be thousands of years old. And it's interesting on individual days when it means something to you, and then other days you've seen it just goes in and out one ear, out the other. But what if it's on any given day that has tremendous impact? Let go of what you are now so that you can become what you might actually become. We went to a meeting here in Orem, I can't remember, 3 weeks ago. And Janae's put this whole new thing together called Parent Advocacy Council, PAC. And in the process of the evening, I came up with a concept called professional grandparents. And we were all asked in the meeting to kind of, what could we contribute? And it hit me like a freight train that grandparents have time and resources that they could lean into being a grandparent. But what if we worked at it on a more professional basis? It's exactly what I preach constantly. Package what you've learned how to do and then turn around and share that with the kids, particularly your grandkids. And when we did that and made that effort, now today Janae posted up on Facebook a reminder of what's coming up. And it can either just go away and I don't do anything with it because it's kind of an offshoot of things that I've done, and yet it really isn't. And I sit and think, I could just let this go. But if it keeps coming back, this kind of concept here just keeps hitting me because I had the initial idea, then something else comes along and shoves it again, and then something else shoves it again. And I guarantee you there's going to be 7 things that will come along, and I think this is something that I need to lean into. It really felt strong to me at the moment. And so now it says, well, the more I can make that some kind of a consistent effort, the odds are that I can actually do something with it. I just got to not let it get away. I've got to stay with it. Most of the important things in the world have been accomplished by people who have kept on trying when there seemed to be no hope at all. That's probably the biggest single factor that has faced the company, and it's now 38 years that I've been going in this direction. Common sense is a flower that doesn't grow in everyone's garden. I wrote this morning, and I want to challenge you. I read the Gandhi quote, live as if you were going to die tomorrow and learn as if you're going to live forever. That's Gandhi. Then I wrote this, love as much as you can every second you have the opportunity to breathe. Me, myself, and I. So I added a little bit to it. What I want you to do is screen capture this quote, and then you write something else under here, okay? Take this concept and make it your own. Right? Rewrite something here. Yeah, we're not Gandhi, and none of us are, but we all have some kind of contribution that we could add. We could add to and then make it ours. So a bit of a challenge to see what can I do. How can I push that a little bit, okay? Change yourself one step at a time. Do a little bit every day and start in the morning. Start with your morning effort. Don't wait and do it later and later and later and later in the day, okay? Started the company September 12th, 1977. On a kitchen tabletop. I signed the corporate papers and the way we went. And now I'm going to take on the world. We are far enough into social media. I can see what's going on. I don't quite know how to use it yet, but those of you that are going to go with me, we got to stay closer and figure out how to make this thing work. Just that reshare button. I dare bet most of you haven't reshared a thing in a month. And yet everything you like you should be resharing and driving it back down through your stream. Don't just look at it and let it go. Because we got to build this concept of the strength of being together rather than the strength of just going at it alone. I kid you not, if we're the first artistic creative art group to figure out how to make social media really work, it's an advertising, it's a publishing mechanism. And it's growing like leaps and bounds, and it is the future of the marketplace and the economy, and you got to learn how to make it work. Okay? You gotta let me know if you want to do more here. Get a hold of me with my texting or my email. Lou, L-E-W, Jensen, J-E-N-S-E-N, studio @gmail.com. Get a hold of me and let me know that you want to get mixed into this international stuff now. We've got such an incredibly good product, and the world needs it out there worse than America needs it. We've sold over 30,000 systems. There's no reason not to nudge this now and participate as far out there as you can. You have to decide what your highest priorities are and have the courage, pleasantly smiling, unapologetically, to say no to everything else. And the way to do that is by having a bigger yes burning inside of you. Many questions. Steve Covey was so powerful in the economy and the marketplace. I think the INE network is the best concept that we've come up with in our entire history, because inspiration's your job, and encouragement's what we give to somebody else. And it helps us all to create a masterpiece together. So, I need to nudge things a little bit tonight because Chris is at the state wrestling finals and he is waiting now. Where in the world is it? So I come back to this screen here. There it is right there. Okay. I gotta go pick up Chris here in a little bit. Anybody got a comment they want to throw into the show?
Yeah, going along with what you had up there tonight, I saw something the other day that it said to be successful, you have to study as much as you produce. And you look at Keith Hone and Craig Hone, how they study what they're going to carve, the time they put into studying what they produce, and you yourself, the time you put in studying how to paint and how to sketch. If you look at it, you probably put in as much time studying as you do producing. So
how much time would you think it would take to rewrite that Gandhi quote, Ron? You're doing a lot of writing now. What is that something you could whip out in 10 minutes, or is that something that would really push you?
Maybe for me a little longer than 10 minutes, but
well, for all
yeah, you can't do it in 10 minutes. That one quote that I came up with, how long did I work on that? Months, Lou, right?
Yeah. And is it done even? I mean, it's still
could change.
All kinds of things that can come into it or taken out of it or put into it. I mean, every creative effort I know there's an art to it, and that means a tremendously extra planning preparation period. Just couldn't be better. Thanks, Ron. Appreciate your contribution. That's just excellent. Excellent. Anybody else got anything you want to throw into this mixture tonight?
I think Tammy does. I thought she was waving her hand.
I don't know. Tam, you got something you want to say? No. Mel?
Yeah, I'm going to be wise and keep quiet.
Oh, be wise and keep quiet. Okay. I'll tell you that slide was uncomfortable for me.
I'll bet it was.
I'll bet it was. This who's always doing all the talking. Yeah. And there's got to be something. There's got to be something to it. And when wise people have been giving that counsel for thousands of years, something there to pay attention to. All right, troops, hate to cut and run, but I've just got to tonight. I've got to go get Chris and bring him home. So everybody have a good evening. Appreciate your participation. Let me know how you feel about what went through tonight, because there's some significant stuff going to happen. And as we go after the international marketplace, I just need to know who wants to take that on too. Okay? Take care, everybody. Good night, and we'll see you next Wednesday night. Same station, same channel, same time. Thank you for all your input. Appreciate it. Good night.